Hi everyone, thanks for joining. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to today's webinar. This feature deep dive is part of a special 3-part series on features that could help your organization during a time of reduced field operations. So while the impact of the coronavirus varies based on government mandates and local contexts, many TaroWorks mobile users worldwide are making less movements now between connected and disconnected areas, which normally their job may require. So in this series, we wanted to emphasize a few features that could help during this time. We do want to emphasize, though, however, if there are any other ways that we can help your organization safely carry on their mission, please don't hesitate to share those thoughts with us, whether it be reaching out to your customer success manager or at the survey at the end of the session or submitting a ticket on our support site. There will be a survey automatically launched at the end of this webinar, so we'd love to hear your feedback, not only on how we can help in general, but specifically on any other features you would like covered. Particularly for next Wednesday session, which is going to be the second part of this series. So we're exploring a shorter format with this series of 3 feature deep dives. So there's going to be roughly 15 minutes of content and then 15 minutes for Q&A. Today's session's on the click to call feature. I'm going to launch a quick poll to get an idea of where in the world your mobile users might be making their phone calls. And as you guys are filling that out, then I will go over just a few housekeeping rules for the session. This session is going to be recorded and could be shared on our website or YouTube channel. Everyone's muted by default, but if you do have a question at any point in the presentation, please either type it into the chat and then we'll pause and try to get it answered if it's relevant to what we're discussing. Or if you'd prefer to ask your question, that'd be great. Just raise your hand and then I'll unmute you. Do feel free to introduce yourself as well when you're asking a question so we can connect our TaroWorks users within the community. These feature deep dive sessions are only for our customers and our partners, so we do want this to be as interactive as possible. Okay, give people just another few seconds to enter their responses into the poll. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll for now. So it looks like of those who are attending the call today, most people would be making local phone calls in Kenya, but we do have phone calls in Bangladesh and Mexico as well. If anybody is interested in sharing what your other country is, feel free to type it in the chat. We'd definitely be interested to hear that. And you will find out why shortly later in the presentation. Okay. So let's get started. In today's session on click to call, we're going to go over why this feature is important. I'll do a demo of what the feature looks like on mobile and how it could be used, and then we'll talk about how you set that up. Feel free to ask questions, like I said, as we go through, but we'll also pause at the end to see if people have any questions or ideas that they'd like to discuss. And then I'll share a couple of resources at the end. So the point of the click to call feature is that it will allow the TaroWorks mobile user at the click of a button or the click of a link, excuse me, to open a phone number into the phone's phone application. So it'll be the default phone application for your device or the one that you've set as the default. And this is useful when you need to make phone calls as a part of a TaroWorks job. Or at the beginning, just to maybe confirm when you're going to meet a customer or beneficiary. So let's take a look at an example on the mobile device. We're going to be using TeamViewer today to screencast Android device. And a lot of times if you're joining our webinars, we're talking about a make-believe client called Aquacomb. Aquacomb builds wells and sells water filters and then monitors the health progress of their community. Today, our scenario is going to be Aquacomb has been affected by um, in their local context by coronavirus. They're supposed to limit their movements, and therefore, me, the TaroWorks mobile user, I can't go visit my well site members the way I normally would, and I need to reschedule those visits. So, what my administrator has set up is a job to show me all the visits I have for the upcoming week. So that I can call each of those well site members and reschedule when I'm going to be visiting them. So I'm going to start the job, reschedule visit job, and select myself because I want to see all the events that I have scheduled. And I have I'll just start down the list. These are the dates I'm supposed to be visiting people and the well site members that I'm visiting. Then I can see some additional details about the visit, what time it was scheduled for, where it was supposed to be, how long we expected it to last. Um, and the click to call feature is emphasized here in the client phone number field. And let's say I want to call Chris to let him know I'm not going to make it and push that meeting forward. So by clicking the button, it would open that phone number value into your phone application and you can initiate a call. So also during that call, I can switch back to my to TaroWorks and continue my work. So let's say I've got Chris on the phone. I've gone over, this is what we had planned, but this is why we can't make the appointment anymore. And when would be a good time for us to come out? At least a week out because we're unsure of what the guidance is going to be in the next week. So let's say Chris says I can come back May 1st, or we can shoot for May 1st. And he says, come at 10 a.m. And I'm going to go ahead and end the call because it's a Canyon number that I'm not calling at this moment. And if I wanted to update the location, I could do that as well. But let's say that we're going back to his house. So the location is not changing. So I'll mark that complete and sync it into Salesforce. If as an administrator, I'm kind of monitoring, I've given guidance to my field officers and let them know everyone should be rescheduling all of their meetings, that we shouldn't have anything for the next week until we know that it's going to be safe for our communities to be moving around again. We can see all of those that data updated when you sync from TaroWorks. It could also be removed from the queue of visits to reschedule for the mobile users. They can treat this as their ongoing list of visits they need to work with. So and then I could just keep proceeding down my list. So click to call helps to facilitate not only the scenario where you're just doing a reschedule and maybe getting a hold of the person in the beginning of the TaroWorks job, but you can also use this to do these interviews over the phone. So on the device, you can initiate the phone call with the interviewee and then move back to your TaroWorks job and fill out the form, which would allow you to safely still continue to collect data without being face-to-face with the individual. So we just had a question submitted. The question is click to call limited for contacts or can it be integrated into TaroWorks forms being used to call people who are not in Salesforce as contacts? Excellent question. So actually in the example we just looked at, let me reopen it, that field lived on the event object. So the answer is definitely no, it doesn't need to be a string that lives on a particular Salesforce object. And that's actually an excellent segue into the next slide of how this feature works. And did that answer the question? We are going to go into a little bit more detail here as we look at how it's set up. Okay, great. And if you have any follow-up questions, just feel free to keep throwing those in. Another question that was just submitted, can you give a reminder at the end about the oh, sorry, this is a reminder that we're gonna give to the group, so we'll cover that later. Okay, so the configuration on the job, how do you use this, this feature? It's actually very simple to set up. As a part of just what you would normally do to expose any data to your mobile user in your job, which is where we're always configuring the reading portion of the TaroWorks job. The writing portion is always controlled by the form. So we just want the mobile user to be able to read that phone number. So we would add that as a detail field in your drill down hierarchy. Just a quick refresher if people haven't used the drill down hierarchy in a while. The drill down hierarchy allows you to expose specific fields out of related objects in Salesforce. So we saw in this job, I first selected myself because I wanted to see my events, and then I could see all the events I needed to reschedule. So by adding this client phone number field, the click to call feature automatically highlighted it for phone calls. And how did it know to do that? So first it's going to look at the device language setting. So based on like your actual Android device in your setup menu, what you have configured as your language or regional settings, it's going to expect a certain format, so it will highlight those. In addition to that, TaroWorks will highlight any numbers that start with 0 that are at least 4 digits long, strings that start with a plus sign, or start with 2, 3, or 4 numbers followed by a hyphen. So the actual data type of these fields that you can use when you're adding the selected field in the job could be a text, it could be a phone number, it could be number. It just needs to have this specific formatting in order for the system to know to highlight it. Were there any further questions related to what the requirements are for this to show up? Thanks, Celeste, for the questions. Okay, great. So are there any general questions or thoughts on how you might be able to use this feature or how it might be pertinent to this time? Anything anyone wants to share with the group? If not, we wanted to also go through a few reminders. One is, if there's any way that we can help support your organization during this time, please open a ticket or just communicate with your customer success manager. Just a reminder, all of our clients, it comes with your license that you have 1 free support hour a month. So if you have any questions or you're taking this time during reduced field operations to take on some Salesforce projects or TaroWorks projects to improve your system, any questions you have, troubleshooting that you need help with, please submit a request at taroworks.zendesk.com. We'd love to help you through that. If maybe during this time actually there's like a lot of increased demand on your teams and you need additional help adjusting and really just need like extra hands in your org. We also offer services to support you in that. So feel free to reach out to your customer success manager if you're interested in ongoing consulting or a second pair of eyes on your org as you're making those changes. And finally, the resource to go to for this specific feature is our click to call article on our customer support site. So it's the same place where you would submit tickets. But there's an article letting you know how you set this up, what it looks like on mobile, and a list of those formats that would actually be highlighted for your mobile users. And the last thing we wanted to cover is just hopefully you've been receiving some communications about this, but we are offering for TaroWorks 6.1 to handle the upgrade for you, so long as you have this upgrade scheduled by April 30th. So the upgrade itself doesn't need to take place by April 30th. We just need to hear from you and get that scheduled in our calendar. So you would do that by submitting a request on our support site, just requesting to set up your upgrade to 6.1. I'd highly encourage everyone to take advantage of this. As a part of this upgrade, we are migrating all of your attachments to files, which is the future of the content management with Salesforce. If you want to learn more about that, you can also watch our video on the 6.1 release on our YouTube channel. But this is an extremely time-consuming upgrade, so I would definitely encourage you to get that ticket submitted before April 30th. Any other questions? If there aren't, I will go ahead and close today's session. Thank you for joining for this shorter format, and I'm looking forward to seeing your ideas for the feature that we cover next week when the survey is launched shortly. Thank you everyone for joining, and stay safe.